In today's episode, we have a special guest with us, Elle Pendrick, HeartKids and founder of Adulting Well. She's on a mission to empower, educate, and entertain people with chronic illnesses. So today I'm chatting with Elle about navigating the financial aspects of living with or caring for a child with childhood heart disease. For those new to From the Heart, we highly recommend you check out an earlier interview that we've done with Elle on preparing for open heart surgery. Before we dive into this discussion, just a quick note to our listeners. This interview provides general ideas for navigating financial aspects of living with CHD, but it isn't financial advice. Everybody's situation is unique, so we strongly recommend you get independent financial advice.
Well, my major tips are you can absolutely do it. There is always a way to leverage the system and save yourself money or make sure that you're paying for your medication or not missing a doctor's appointment because you can't afford the petrol to get there. Where there's a will, there's a way with the system and trying to find innovative ways to get there and make sure that your healthcare is front and centre is the most important thing.
Before we begin, we'd like to acknowledge that we're recording on the land of the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation, otherwise known as Warang. We acknowledge the traditional owners and pay our respects to elders past, present and emerging. We pass that respect to any Aboriginal or Torres Strait Islander listeners. Elle, welcome back to From the Heart. After 5 open heart surgeries and living with CHD, you've got such a deep insight into living, a full and beautiful life with a chronic health condition. As I mentioned, we're going to chat a little bit about navigating the financial side of living with or caring for someone with a CHD. I guess for your perspective, can you tell us a little bit what it's been like with your health and professional background and I guess your interest in supporting adults with chronic health conditions?
Yeah, thanks so much for having me back. It's really great. I've been on the board with HeartKids for about 4 years now, and I've helped with the National Action Plan for Childhood Onset Heart Disease and the Standards of Care. As you said, I've had 5 open heart surgeries and obviously had CHD. It's for life. So chronic illness for 40 years now. I turned 40 in March and I'm very proud to wear that badge. So I will tell anyone how old I am, like a 4-year-old. And I'm really passionate about supporting people with chronic illness in general, but particularly around money because I really struggled with it for years. I read every bestseller that there was out there about how to navigate your finances, and I always came away with a missing piece of the puzzle, and that was the finances around chronic illness, and I haven't quite been able to find that puzzle piece. So I went about it and figured it all out myself, and now I'm teaching other people how to do it as well.
I love that. I think that's the thing with this mainstream kind of narrative about money, and these bestsellers often don't have perspectives, are quite ableist and don't really share to that perspective of people like ourselves and managing finances with conditions as such. Tell me some of the, I suppose, biggest learnings that you've had in your financial health.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things I learned is you can absolutely set yourself up for financial success, even when you have chronic illness and you're muddling through all of your healthcare and other type of finances and melding them together. And a couple of things that really helped me was being able to budget and understand the financial levers that you have available to you across quite a broad spectrum. Having a really good money mindset, it is absolutely possible. And the last thing would be getting professional financial help early if you need it.
Beautiful, beautiful. I guess I want to talk a little bit about the point of diagnosis, because I think that all those sort of thoughts that come through your head when you get a diagnosis, particularly a long-term diagnosis, and the financial stress that comes with that. I guess from that moment, from your experience, what are some things that people should know from the outset of getting a diagnosis?
Well, I think the first thing you should know is absolutely doable. The finances and life with CHD is absolutely doable. There's loads of ways to get financial support, but the trick is you've got to upskill yourself in those specialty areas to be able to navigate it for your particular situation.
Beautiful, beautiful. I'm going to preach to the choir with the cost of repeated hospital visits and specialist appointments and the travel and the petrol and the accommodation and everything that kind of comes along with our experiences. It's not particularly an isolated experience. You go through it, but the people that are supporting you are also going through it. I guess in terms of support at that point in time, what avenues do people have?
Yeah, there's loads of avenues, and it's a bit of being creative and a little bit of being a detective and understanding what you're entitled to and what you can get access to. But the point is, don't be shy, lean into those financial support systems. So things like government support, Medicare, public hospitals, getting your home ready so you're not spending money on emergency food and household things. So you can get an online delivery of Coles groceries instead of trying to eat out all the time because you're trying to manage so many things at once. Technology can also save you money because you could get a medical appointment through telehealth instead of having to drive, park, pay the parking fee, and go through that process. You can get electronic scripts. You can get scripts delivered to your house. Sometimes it's free, sometimes it's not. You can get your Medicare rebates sent directly to your bank account now. There's so many little technological ways that can support you when you're trying to navigate your finances as well. And then don't be shy. If your friends, family, and community are offering meals or helping with your childcare arrangements or pet sitting or taking your pet for a walk because you're not up for it, lean into it. Let people help you. Usually it's a point in time where you're not feeling well or you're having surgery or people that you love are in the hospital or something like that. So lean into the support for the period of time that you're going to need it. One day you'll be able to return the favour. It's totally fine. And then there's amazing charities like HeartKids who do so much to support families, whether it's with little vouchers and things like that, that a little bit goes a huge, long way to help people. And then there's St. Vincent de Paul, Salvos, and others that help. Other levers that people can pull are insurance. So, and I'm not just talking about private health insurance. You can also look at your travel insurance and your superannuation. Make sure you're covered when you're going traveling around the world, having a grand old time, now that we can do that again. And when you kind of map out what your levers are, know which ones you can pull in an emergency situation. So when the waters are calm, that's amazing, but put in place where to pull those levers when you need them in case of an emergency.
Yeah, preparation.
Yes.
Preparation is key. In terms of, I think, coming into a system like Medicare or the healthcare system that we have, it can be really, really overwhelming. And is there anything within that system specifically that people who have CHDs or are caring for people with CHDs, I guess, should be aware of or should kind of keep an eye out for highlighted words?
Absolutely. There is so much government support. It's overwhelming and it's confusing to navigate because sometimes you qualify, sometimes you don't, but some of the fundamentals would be Medicare. So Medicare is like a blanket term and it covers a whole bunch of different things that make up what we know as Medicare. And we're incredibly lucky to have it in Australia. It is absolutely phenomenal. So there's the Medicare benefit scheme. So, for example, if you're going in for open heart surgery and you need a heart valve or something like that, you might get a Medicare item number that goes with your particular surgery or your particular valve. And you can go and look up how much Medicare will pay for that and how much the cost will be covered. You can also get bulk or partial billing. So bulk billing is where if you go to the GP and you're unable to pay the full cost, depending on where you are and what situation it is and who you go and see, they can cover, the Medicare can cover the cost either partially or fully. And then there's the Medicare safety net. So anyone can go onto their Medicare app right now and you can see how much the Medicare safety net is if you just click on safety net, and you can see how much you've spent in the healthcare system that's Medicare attributable and where you're up to with getting close to the safety net. And once you hit the safety net, your costs will dramatically go down, which is fantastic. It's really, really awesome. And you can check it out right now. There's also treatment plans. So if you go to your GP, and I've personally done this, where if you've got a chronic illness management plan, they help connect everything, they help reduce the costs, but also it's all about treatment management and connecting you to the right people and making sure you've got a holistic plan. And then there's pharmaceutical benefit scheme where certain medications are subsidised by the government, which is fantastic. And same with the Medicare safety net, there is a pharmaceutical benefit scheme, a PBS safety net as well. And then you've got amazing public hospitals. So we're incredibly fortunate. You could just front up if you're an Australian citizen and certain other criteria, if you're not an Australian citizen, to any public hospital in Australia and you will be treated. It's incredible. And lastly, I will mention For me, for example, I lived outside. I've always lived outside the big metropolitan cities. So I've always had to travel for all of my healthcare and all of my treatment, all of my surgeries. And each state and territory has what's called a PATS, which is a patient assisted travel scheme. So you can look it up for your individual state or territory. And if you're eligible, they will help with your travel and accommodation, which is fantastic.
Love this. I didn't even know all of this. Like, I'm obsessed with, oh my God. I want to add in like just an extra question here because I'm really, really interested in, I suppose, your advice in regards to this situation. So I think a lot about like, I grew up in a rural area. My mum and dad, first HeartKid, they had no idea what was going on. And my mum always says that the healthcare cards, that she tried to apply for one, but there was not much knowledge of CHD where we were living. The person was like, well, she doesn't have asthma. She can't qualify for one. And my mum, I think that rattled her a little bit. She never went back. So in these situations where you know you're entitled to something and you want to access that support and you are struggling to navigate, I guess in terms of advocating for yourself and your family in these systems, what's the advice that you would give?
Do your homework, definitely, because every situation is different. Every time you go to approach one of these to get a healthcare card or whatever it is, and if you've been knocked back, there might well be a very valid reason that it's not captured. But on the other hand, you might well be entitled. And if you feel like that you are entitled based on all your research and what it says on the websites and in the policies, absolutely go back. Don't take no for an answer. Go back, lay it out for them and explain where CHD fits in and how it would be of benefit to be able to get that type of access for whatever it is. And I think that's one of the really confusing things about finances is once you're kind of told no, a lot of people just go, oh, I'll take no for an answer. Don't take no for an answer. Sometimes it is no, but sometimes it isn't. Sometimes I don't understand.
Yeah.
And my experience is that CHD is one of the least understood conditions, considering almost 1% of the population have it.
Yeah, some of the things that have been said about like, oh, what do you mean? Yeah. But even, I guess, in that situation, it is really distressing at times when you are in the middle of living and coping with your condition to advocate for yourself. So I think, as you said before, your support system. So if I can't show up, my sister shows up or my mum shows up and helps me out with that sort of stuff.
Absolutely. And I'm 40. My mum will still show up if I needed to.
Love mums.
Don't be shy. If you've got those resources and you need it, then do it.
I think living with CHD can breed a bit of hyper independence at times. So yeah, it's take the help. It's okay to have help.
Yes.
People love you and care for you.
Yes.
That's it. In our public healthcare system, the cost of surgery is generally kind of all covered by the health system, which is great. And we love that. What's in your insight about how people might work out the potential or hidden or additional expenses related to having surgery?
Unfortunately, there can be quite a few, and it really is dependent on people's situations. So if you're working, for example, some of the hidden costs can be taking leave. So in my personal experience, when I was in my 20s and I had my fourth open heart surgery, I was in a casual position and didn't have the leave to take. So I took leave without pay. So that's another but I was fortunate to find other subsidies that could help me at the time for my particular situation. But then when I had my fifth open heart surgery, I did my homework. I understood, I was in the public service. I understood my leave entitlements. I knew how much I had. And sometimes in permanent roles in certain areas, they have kind of like this little, bonus leave that you can apply for in particular situations. So some of the ones that I have seen really help people are, for example, extra carers leave for certain people, or there might be a couple of weeks that people can apply for in extenuating circumstances. And in my belief, open heart surgery is extenuating circumstances. So I put up a pretty strong argument and got the extra paid leave to cover me while I was having that surgery. Some of the other sneaky little costs that might come in that are not necessarily covered might be equipment for your home. So you might need, for example, a blood pressure machine or something like that. And sometimes you can get subsidies to cover it and sometimes you can't. There might also be extra appointments with your GP or specialist, pain medication once you leave hospital. So once you get to the pharmacy, and if it's covered by the PBS, that's great. Sometimes it might not be, and then you'll have an extra cost there when you're leaving the hospital. Mental health support can also cost a little bit extra. So there's loads of different ways that you could find mental health support, from mental health care plan with your GP through to just finding some on your own or employee assistance programs. But some of them might come with a cost. And then if you're going to hospital, there's always the travel and accommodation and parking. Even if you're just traveling down the road, you still might have to pay for parking or for a bus or something like that. But if you're traveling longer distance, like we've had to, there's a lot more costs involved. And then there is a sneaky little cost when you're in hospital, is the lolly trolley. I love the lolly trolley.
That's it for me. It was the vending machines.
Yes.
Yeah.
But worth it.
I said, I'm going to spend $2.50 on my mental health today. Thank you. I'm going to get a sweet treat.
So just like keep a card with a little few bucks on it so you can get yourself a little treat.
That's it. That's what I used to always like. I made sure that my gown was done up at the back. I would head down the hallway to the vending.
What do you call it? I used to call it
the IV. Like, yeah. Oh, the good times.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Look, another little addition to that question that I was going to ask you about is the medical cost finder.
Yes.
Tell me a little bit about that.
The Medical Cost Finder is a really interesting tool that the federal government set up, and you can get your Medicare item numbers. So if you're going in for surgery, have a chat with the surgeon and ask them what the Medicare item numbers are for what your procedure is, and you can punch in those magic numbers and it will spit out this amazing combination of how much they think it will cost. It will cover public health and private insurance. The only catch is it's not 100% accurate, so I wouldn't base all of your figures on it. And then we've just talked about some of those add-on costs that are not covered by that. Obviously, they keep within that. But I would say the Medical Cost Finder is great for finding a ballpark figure for what might be happening for your particular surgery. But the other way to also try and figure it out is go and talk to a financial counsellor, and they can work with you on all the different costs that you might be incurring and what your income might be over that period. They really can be quite helpful, and there is a range of free resources. And one of them that I understand is really good is the National Debt Helpline, and they can refer people onto lots of different areas so they can get support when they need it.
Yeah, beautiful. I suppose within that as well, going into hospitals and we're going into places that have these kind of conversations every day, I suppose leaning on the cardiologists, the hospital finance department, social work teams within those systems to really understand what life is going to look like beyond surgery. Because I think we get ourselves to the surgery point and we kind of take a breath, but we don't quite realize the journey beyond that. So I guess the importance of getting informed and planning things out early. Tell me a little bit about how that can kind of go.
So I guess it was really, for me, a stark difference between my fourth and fifth open heart surgery. So for my fourth open heart surgery, I was 21. I had no idea what was going on and didn't understand how much things would cost. I went through public health, which was amazing. I got incredible amount of support from the public health system. And then when I came to my fifth open heart surgery, I was 33. I had a fantastic job. I understood how to navigate government because I'm working in government, and I got to the point where I had done my own personal budget. I'd read all the budgeting books, and I like numbers. I'm a bit weird like that. I really do like numbers. So I had delved into all of that. And then when it came to the surgery, I sat down and I was like, where's the numbers? Where's the numbers? I want to make an informed decision. How do I get the numbers? So I spent quite a bit of time trying to pick the numbers, and I don't think the Medical Cost Finder was around then, but I spent quite a bit of time trying to unpick how much my procedure would cost, how much leave I had and how much that would cover, whether there was going to be a gap and how much that was financially going to impact us. Then we would need obviously some extra groceries, travel, accommodation for my partner, and my family came as well. So figuring all that out into a budget is really helpful. It can seem a little bit overwhelming when you're trying to also figure out, well, I don't feel that great. That's why I'm having the surgery. I'm not exactly sure how everything's going to go. You can plan for the best scenario, and things sometimes go a little bit wonky. That's okay. You kind of build that buffer in with an emergency fund or something like that, a little pocket of money that you can draw down if you really need to. But it's important to understand how much you're up for. You can also call your private health insurance and have a chat with them, those Medicare item numbers that you can punch into the medical cost finder. Phone up your private health insurance and have a chat with them if you're going through private health, and ask them, how much will it cost? How much will you cover? What won't be covered? What will I be out of pocket for? I understand that some insurers now also cover travel and accommodation for people who live further out, that you'd have to check your individual cover and insurer. But there's a whole bunch of research and digging that you kind of need to do to gather everything. And if you get to a point where you think, oh God, I can't break even, this is not going to work for me, there is then a whole different suite of resources, financial resources that kick in. So, for example, the National Doubt Helpline have got fantastic resources on if you get to a point where, for example, you can't pay your rent, or you can't pay your mortgage, or you can't make ends meet with your children's school fees, all sorts of things that life can throw at you. There are ways that you can step through and try and negotiate through that if you reach in and get financial counselling and financial help as soon as you've done your maths and sat down and gone, oh, this isn't really going to work. There is more help there.
Yeah. And I think the big point is that these times are really stressful, but your preparation is going to help you on the other side, so you don't end up in a situation where, you're caught out.
Yeah.
So I've started to do this thing. I find that doctor's appointments are incredibly stressing for me. So when I do have to have a scan or I do have to have an appointment, I'll do the little girl math thing in my head where I'm like, okay, this is how much I'm paying. I don't consider the rebate. And what I do with the rebate is I put it into a special fund. That's my emergency fund, but also it's my self-care fund.
Yeah.
So I will maybe use $30 out of that and go and get my nails done, or do something that kind of counteracts that yucky experience. I want your perspective on how do you also incorporate self-care and looking after yourself in terms of financial stress?
Oh, I girl math the heck out of it. I am exactly the same. Did you see my nails?
Yes, girl.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I have just got to the point, I think when I met my husband, I think he had never met someone where I'm like, oh, healthcare, or oh, I need to go get a massage, or I need to go and do the exercise with the exercise Pilates people who are more expensive. It's like $50 a lesson, because if I don't, the risk of it going wrong is much higher, and I feel comfortable with them, and I won't do the exercise otherwise, and I'll end up in a heap. So I do exactly the same. I think it's really important, and having an emergency medical fund is really important. And I did a blog on that a couple of weeks ago.
Yes, the blog. So let's tap into that. Tell me a little bit about Adulting Well.
Oh, I'm really excited about Adulting Well. It's a business that I have recently launched, and it's here to teach people with chronic illness, especially with CHD, how to adult well. It covers things like money, work, mental health, surgery, and loads more. I started it because, as we've discussed, there's gaps. And over the years, I've nutted out how to do it. And as I've been talking to the community and being very privileged to have had access to the HeartKids Board, being on national steering committees to develop some of these phenomenal resources, I've realised that I have gained so much insight that perhaps other people didn't have an opportunity to get, and I really want to share it. And I want to package it up and give it to people in practical, user-friendly ways.
Beautiful. So in terms of the business, how do we access it? How do we get involved? What's the process that we can read all of this?
Yeah. So there's a website. It's called adultingwell.au. And there's 3 free blogs on there, which is really exciting. They're available now. You can sign up and never miss a blog. My top 3 favourite ones are my 3 most embarrassing hospital moments, which, there's some absolute pearlers in there, which I'm sure some people could relate to. How to build a personal medical fund, which ties in beautifully with this podcast, because it's for the longer term with chronic illness. Sometimes you might need that little emergency fund, and sometimes it might just be for your regular checkups and things like that. But funneling a little bit out for that is really helpful. And my other favourite one at the moment is why our public hospitals are run by divorced parents.
I know that one, state and federal governments.
Yes.
Yes. I know that one. Yes. Yes. Oh my God. I love this. I imagine this is very much a labour of love. And I think that's something that I really appreciate about this community is like everybody has so much, we're all so different, but we also have so much knowledge, and lived experience is priceless. What has it been like, and I suppose continue to be like for you to I suppose, to put that knowledge into something for your community?
It's been amazing. I love it. Yeah, I launched the first paid product, which is a book, on Monday, which is, I feel like, you know, when you buy someone a really awesome present and you get so excited that you want them to have it now, that is how I feel about the book. It sounds so silly, but it's called Your Ultimate Success Surgery Guide, and it is an all-in-one resource that has, for anyone going through major surgery, it has a guidebook that has 183 pages packed with really practical things, relatable stories, checklists, and even scripts. So if you've got to go and talk to your boss and negotiate your leave for your major surgery, it breaks down what you're entitled to, what you could say to them, and how you could approach it. And then, because I know when I read something like that, I kind of get to the point where I'm like, oh, I need to make some notes, and what do I do now? So it comes with a free action plan where you can make all your notes, or you can be as messy as you like. You can take it to the doctor's appointment and ask them all your questions and have everything in the one plan. And then I've also set up a surgery squad Facebook group. So for anyone going through a major surgery, you can come and be together with everyone else going through the same thing. So it's available online now, which I'm so excited about it. It's definitely a labor of love. And as I kept writing about it, and as you know, surgery touches every part of your life, like everything. So that's why it ended up 183 pages.
I was like, at 183 pages, like, girl, so much better than me. It's beautiful. It's very succinct.
I wrote the blog, the Open Heart Surgery Tips and Tricks, which helped with the last podcast, and I sort of just doubled down on it and went through everything that I felt like I missed, particularly money and work.
Yeah.
I feel like they're two major areas that we really need to work on for adults with chronic illness, particularly CHD. And Adulting Well has got 2 courses coming up. So they're online courses with about 6 modules each. And the first one will be Money Mastery with Chronic Illness. And the second one will be Acing the Work-Health Balance.
Yeah, beautiful. I love that. This is like a beautiful full circle moment from reading all those like bestseller money books to now releasing your own. Oh my God. Congratulations.
Thank you. I'm very excited.
Yeah, as you should be. What a beautiful like gift to the world. Look, before we wrap up, any final pearls of wisdom or reassurance or advice that we're facing a complicated healthcare system? Any advice that you have?
Well, my major tips are you can absolutely do it. There is always a way to leverage the system and save yourself money, or make sure that you're paying for your medication or not missing a doctor's appointment because you can't afford the petrol to get there. Where there's a will, there's a way with the system, and trying to find innovative ways to get there and make sure that your healthcare is front and centre is the most important thing. And the only other thing would be set yourself up a personal medical fund.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Thank you so much. Thank you for all your wisdom. And I'm sure that many of us will be coming for the whole book to know more.
Thank you. Please do. I'm really excited to share it with people.
Yeah, beautiful. Sometimes this podcast deals with some heavy things. If this brings up anything for you or somebody that you love, it's important to reach out for help. The HeartKids helpline provides support and guidance for anyone impacted by congenital or childhood heart disease. You can call the helpline on 1800 432 785. To access more information about childhood heart disease as well as support from HeartKids, visit the website at heartkids.org.au. The information on this podcast is not a substitute for medical advice from your doctor or healthcare team. Always talk to your doctor about matters that affect your or your family's health.